Well, students, the anime chapter number 4 from Vistas is written by Pearl S. Buck, right? This is the chapter which is related to the time of the World War, right? World War, when it was the World War Second, so the chapter is related to that. Okay, what is in it? Here we have um, an American prisoner of war, right? An American prisoner of war. He is washed ashore in a dying state and is found at the doorstep of a Japanese doctor, right? So here we will have a conflict in the mind of that Japanese doctor whether to save that man or he should be, loyal to his nation. So that kind of conflict was there in the mind of Japanese doctor. And the name of Japanese doctor was Dr. Sadao. Okay. So here I have prepared something for you that is related to the theme, the central idea of the lesson, or we can say the analysis of the chapter, the enemy. Right? What is the theme which revolves around the chapter? The enemy deals with the conflict between man's human feelings and the prejudices created by nations at war. It deals with the universal human values which must take precedence over narrow considerations like nationalism, the bond unifying all human beings must transcend the difference between nations. As I told you, this is the time of the World War II, right? And there is a conflict between the two portions. One, whether the doctors should save the American prisoner of war or he should hand him over to the police as he was pure Japanese, right? He couldn't go against the rules and regulations of his nation, right? And at that time, as it was war, so he should know, he should not go, behind. And it deals with the universal human values also, right? So then we have the second theme also. Again, it is explaining how we'll take up this chapter. The story deals with the conflict, as I told you, between a man's duty towards the state and towards his own conscience. In fact, the story raises questions about the ethics of a human being at the time of war. Dr. Sadao has been brought up in a traditional and patriotic environment and he dislikes Americans. No doubt, he was brought up in a traditional and patriotic environment. That's why he didn't like Americans. But as a doctor, he has taken an oath to save every, injured person at his level best, right? So he couldn't go beyond that also. So that's why there was a conflict. I believe you are getting this point. A man, he came at his doorstep in a dying situation, right? And Dr. Sadahoki was a doctor, right? He was a Japanese because at this time there was a war between, Japan, World War Second, that was, related to all, but more unless it was between Japan and America, and they were rivals, right? So he couldn't go beyond that, and moreover, he was a doctor. So at that same Dr. Sadao, he was brought up with these, traditional environment, and he dislikes Americans, but at the same time, he's a doctor and cannot let the American bleed to death. Right? The story condemns racial discrimination, जाति के आधार पर भेदभाव, and hails the superiority of humanity above any other thing. Right? So the story condemns racial discrimination and hails, it comes upward, the superiority of humanity above any other thing. And ultimately, he showed the humanity. He saved that person. And how did he save that person? How did he bring him in his home? How did he save him without being noticed? Right? His servants even said no to help him. Right? They also went out. And moreover, he was the best surgeon. Right? You will come to know that he was the best surgeon, and even the general was in need of his help. That's why he was in a good reputation with the general also, and he couldn't go away from the patriotism also. So how did he manage each and everything that is shown in this chapter? Right? It's a lengthy one, but you will come to know that each and every person, if every person would be like Dr. Sadako, then there will be no war as it is happening these days, right? So, my dear, if every person is a human one, he is humanitarian, then I believe there will be no wars, right? One should think about it that everyone is same, just like us, right? Whether he is American or an, or a Japanese or an Indian or a Pakistani, everybody is same. We should have some good concerns about each and everyone. Then there will be no wars, right? God has created us, God has made us, as equal, but we have created the walls. That's why, we have the boundaries, right? So what is the significance of the title? Let's see, it is value based question as well. The enemy, or we can say the justification of the title, right? Is it appropriate or not? So let's see how. The enemy, and it will give you an overview of the whole chapter as well, right? Although I have told you each and everything, the enemy is an apt title. Aptful means it's a real, or you can say appropriate one title, that has the Second World War as the background. In the background there is Second World War. Dr. Sadao, being a skilled surgeon, saved the life of an escaped American prisoner of war. His enemy, no doubt his enemy, was there, who was an American, who was wounded seriously and had been washed ashore. Right? His name was Tom, right? And torn between his duty and his integrity as a doctor, he chooses to save the enemy's life first and then hand him over to the police. Yes, of course, my dear. His conscience allowed him to save the American prisoner of war, but in his heart of hearts, he knew that he couldn't go beyond his nationality. right? So, in the chapter, you will come to know that he would write up each and everything. He would type up each and everything in a letter and hand that over to the general. Even informed him that I had done this thing and all. If you want to put me behind the bars, it means you want me to go to the prison, then I am ready. And if you want to, take him away, then it's okay because I couldn't let him, to the death. Okay. So that's why he saved, and then he thought that he would hand him over to the police. His inner conflict and professional ethics makes him choose his first option. His servants too desert him. As I told you, his servants they also went away for fear of getting into trouble. And he is fully aware of the fact that harboring a prisoner of war would endanger his own life as well. He knew it very well. That if he would give him shelter, harboring, giving shelter, right? If he would give him shelter, then no doubt his life would be in danger. But he can't let that man die, right? That's why he saved him. The doctor's professional ethics urge him to treat the enemy as a patient, right? He treated him as a patient. And you will come to know that even he had a habit of calling the patient as friend. And while he was operating, he called him friend even. My dear, don't, sink. You will come to life. Why? Because he was in a habit to talk to the patients so that they won't sink at the time of, surgery or so. Right? Because there is some subconscious mind which is alive. So that's why he treated him in a very nice manner, just as a patient. He didn't think while doing the surgery that he was an American, right? Neither Dr. Sadao nor Hana. Who is Hana? The wife of Dr. Sadao, right? Dr. Sadao was having two children, right? They were very, small. And there are servants also. Yumi is the maid servant who takes care of the children, right? There is one gardener, cook also, and they were the servants since Dr. Sadahoki was, small child, right? So it was very impossible for them even to go away from the home, but they went out because they wanted to save that person also, Dr. Sadao, right? Why? Because there is no doubt when we stay at some place, so we have some bondings. And they asked Dr. Sadao to hand him over to the place rather than saving him. But Dr. Sadao, being a doctor, he didn't take their words, right? So they went out. Okay. So Dr. Sadao nor Hana at any stage consider him their friend. But they didn't take him as friend. Although he was staying for some time in their home and they operated on him even, but they didn't take him as their friend, right? And you will come to know in the chapter that for higher studies, Dr. Sadao went to America, right, where he met with Hana at Professor Harley's, home. Professor Harley was the person under whom he was doing his research work. But he was a pure Japanese, right? And that's why he didn't take him as friend. Okay, so the title is therefore appropriate. That no doubt he was the enemy, and ultimately at the end, you will come to know that Dr. Sadako brought up each and everything to General, informed the General, but General forgot about it because he was in a pain. He needed a surgery, and Dr. Sadahoki uh, did the surgery, saved him, and at the end, he found that General Takuma forgot to, you know, take out that person from his home. Otherwise, he had promised that he would send two assassins. Assassins, the bouncer kind of person, right? So he would send his two, murderers, murderer kind of persons who would take him away from his home. Why? Because Dr. Sadavoki was the best surgeon in whom he has full faith, and he could help him, he could save his life. That's why, while it was the time of the World War, right? Uh, but Dr. Sadavoki was not sent with the troops. Troops means the soldiers, the you know a team of the soldiers, right? So he was not sent along with them. Why? Because anytime General Takima could be in need of surgery, right? That's why he was staying in his, home. Okay, right? So this is what, and ultimately at the end, you will come to know that how did he save him? He gave him a boat in which he kept all the things which were essential for him, right? And let him go away. He said that now you are saved, okay. But now, if he would hand him over to the police, no doubt they would, kill him, or they could even take him behind the bars, right? So he thought now how to save that person. At the end, he gave him a boat and asked him to go to the islands from where he could go to the to his native place, that is America. All right. So this is what we have in this whole chapter. I believe this chapter is really an interesting one, right? Just like a movie, how it goes on, revolves on, right? Um, right? It would be clearer to you, right? And you will create interest, right? Thank you. We'll take up the chapter now.